When was the last time you bought a car? The latest data from the Bureau of Transportation Statistics shows Americans are holding onto their vehicles longer than ever before, with the average age of a vehicle at around 12 years old. What are the leading factors for this trend, and could we see higher costs related to this driving up costs somewhere else? Bankrate senior writer R.E. Hawley is here to explain all the latest trends as she is keeping close tabs on it. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. The biggest thing driving this trend right now is that the cost of owning a vehicle has gone up significantly in the last 5 years. So as we see the age of cars climbing up, what we're really seeing is more and more people saying, you know what? I can't afford to take on a new car payment right now. I can't afford pricier insurance. And so it's really a kind of question of costs.
Okay. Now, a lot of folks, they're also really happy to get rid of those monthly payments. What are the average payments for new and used cars these days?
For a new car, the average monthly payment is close to $750 per month. For used cars, it's a little bit lower. It's around $525. For most people, that's a pretty significant chunk of cash and of their monthly income that may or may not be realistic to take on.
Oh yeah, it's so expensive. Are there other reasons people are holding off? Would you say it's the loans and the interest rates too, maybe?
Yep. Interest rates are high right now. Loans are expensive to take on. But we've also seen in our analysis of insurance rates, the cost of car insurance just in the last year alone has gone up by about 12%. And that's another thing that's going to be even higher if you're taking on a new car rather than an older one.
Yeah, so talk a little more about that. How can that impact the insurance rates? Let's say you're holding on to this vehicle as long as you can, and everyone else is on the road driving maybe a used car. Does that kind of like rise the tide for prices?
This is an interesting question. For you, as the individual, if you're choosing to hold on to an older car, your rates are probably going to be lower in the short term. In fact, we found for full coverage, it's about 30% less per year to keep that older car. But then, right, you talk about those other cars on the road. As we see the average age go up, what that means is that more of the cars on the road don't have modern safety technology, might have mechanical issues that can lead to a higher risk of accidents. And so even though you might be paying less for insurance by keeping that older car, you might also be taking on more and more risk. And as that grows, the cost can potentially spread across the industry.
Yeah, you have a graph that you had on your website of some of the vehicles you list out with the newer version versus the older version and the insurance rates, what they look like. And like you said, it just depends over time. One other thing I wanted to know, some of the new vehicles on the road, they're electric or hybrid. Does that play a role in calculating insurance rates on older vehicles that just run on gas because you're sharing the road with those newer kinds of vehicles?
Yeah, so when we're talking about rising insurance costs, one of the biggest drivers is the cost of repairs. And we know that actually both new vehicles, in particular EVs and hybrid vehicles, they tend to have higher repair costs compared to cars that run exclusively on gas. So that's one factor driving up insurance costs. And then again, those older cars, they potentially cost less to repair, but as the cost of repairs rises overall, there's a higher risk that each individual repair will cost more.
Got it. So what are some ways to reduce your risk of the higher insurance rates? Let's say, gee, I just want to hold on to this car as long as I can. I've paid it off. It feels good. What are some of your top tips?
Top tip, know your insurance. Understand what you're paying for. So that looks like reviewing your policy. Take a look at what coverage you have. Maybe work with a professional to see if you have the right coverage. Maybe you need more, maybe you should drop some. It's also important to understand what your rights are in the event of a total loss, because older cars we know are much more likely to be declared a total loss by insurers. So that's a big part of it, is just understanding what your insurance is. Take the time every year or so to shop for new insurance. And then when you're holding on to that older car, it's also really important to understand and try to minimize your risk by doing things like keeping up with your maintenance, make sure that car is in safe operating condition, and practice your own sort of safe driving habits. Really try to make sure that you're as safe on the road as possible.
Yeah, lots to consider here. Thank you so much for helping us out, especially because I know a lot of folks are maybe on the verge of making that decision, or maybe they're planning ahead for the next year, and so they want to make sure they have all the numbers in front of them. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.